Ethan personally exposed Vivian's scandalous affair to her entire company. It happened right when she was getting intimate with her lover. Everyone saw it clearly. In that moment, her scream wasn't pleasure, it was terror. That evening, while she slept, Ethan opened her iPad synced with her phone, and was delighted to see a photo of her in revealing lingerie. The chat logs were buzzing with activity. He sent all the screenshots to his phone, and then deleted them from her device. When left for work, Ethan followed her car. Driving in the opposite direction from her company, she parked at the coffee shop entrance, got out, and walked inside, holding a man's arm. Ethan had seen Marcus on her iPad before. He worked at the same company as Vivian and was her direct supervisor. Vivian always preferred to sit by the window, and this time was no exception. From inside a taxi, Ethan secretly filmed her and Marcus' every move, then headed to his own work. It wasn't that he wasn't angry, but family matters are best kept private. Vivian was reserved and didn't talk much. Ethan first met her at a department store. She had accidentally knocked over a bottle of perfume. Chloe, the store clerk, had pointed her finger at Vivian, yelling harshly and demanding $800 in compensation. What kind of high-end perfume? Does a sample really cost $800? Ethan thought. He always stood up for what's right, so he stepped forward to argue. Chloe told him to mind his own business, and Ethan knocked her down with one punch. Vivian cried and nodded her thanks to him, then ran off. Ethan was taken away by security. Vivian was called in to assist with the investigation. After they settled things, she paid his bail. When they went out together, Ethan noticed a refreshing gardenia scent emanating from her. He asked her why she chose him after getting married, and she said he was humorous, and that they complemented each other. But now, she had quieted him. Lying in bed, she recounted the day's events to him, as flatly as ever. Thinking of her radiant smile at the coffee shop, Ethan's heart ached, but he tried his best to calm down and play along. He watched the woman beside him. She was gentle and elegant. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed she could do such sordid things. Ethan didn't want to confront her. After all, they had been married for almost 3 years. After chatting for a while, she said she was tired and turned over to sleep. Ethan didn't close his eyes all night. He dreamt of her lying in another man's bed, wondering what she became, and he wanted to strangle her. She showed no signs of unease, falling asleep quickly. Didn't she fear calling out another man's name in her dreams? Ethan had also cheated before they were married. During that period, he dared not close his eyes until she was sound asleep almost every night. In the morning, with dark circles under his eyes, Ethan, as usual, prepared her breakfast and went to wake her up. What beautiful dream was she having? He looked at her slightly smiling sleeping face, feeling disgusted. Why didn't you wake me? Vivian complained, her gaze indifferent. Then she left without even eating breakfast. Was she in such a hurry? Was she rushing to work, or to see another man? Ethan was a writer, specializing in modern poetry. His income was unstable but decent. He usually read novels, but he never expected the plots within them to unfold in his own life. Trashy stories often featured scumbags, simp characters, and feminists. Were men really so worthless? His upbringing prevented him from becoming hysterical, but that didn't mean this matter would pass easily. Vivian sent Ethan a text message, saying the company had arranged a business trip for half a month. He asked her, who's leading the team? Where are you going? She told him Marcus' name. So, it was him. He going to Silverwood, a scenic, remote destination. He thought, it was a place of legendary beauty. After this project, I can be promoted to a leader. She was uncharacteristically excited, and Ethan felt as if she wasn't really talking to him. He wished her smooth sailing and said, be careful. After hanging up, he immediately bought a ticket for the same flight. Ethan disguised himself in the crowd and watched Vivian and Marcus board the plane together. Looking perfectly suited, Vivian and Marcus laughed as they chatted, filled with endless joy. Bitch. She never joked around with Ethan. He began to doubt her purpose in marrying him. Though he had racked his brains trying to figure it out, he was ordinary. There was nothing about him she should covet. Soon, they arrived at a place known for its unique local cuisine. Their first stop was the hotel. Vivian and Marcus booked a room, holding hands as they waited for the elevator. The front desk staff were gossiping. Look, Cher's clearly not his wife. In a city known for its romantic encounters, such things were commonplace among them. Compared to them, someone like Ethan, at first glance, just looked like a regular guest. First time here? Chloe, the front desk clerk, asked, scanning his ID without looking up. Ethan didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the elevator's floor display. Chloe glanced at him sideways. Ah, triple compensation for damaged items. Then, she handed him the room key card. They're used to seeing situations like mine here. Ethan's room was on the same floor as hers, diagonally across from her door. He guessed the front desk staff, assuming he was there to catch them cheating, had deliberately arranged it this way. As he exited the elevator, they were just entering their room. Marcus' hand was not behaving, slapping her backside. Ethan had always wanted to do that, but she never allowed it. Passing her door, he unconsciously slowed his steps. Her laughter echoed from the room, the scene vivid in his mind. He was truly agitated. Ethan never understood why people had to go so far to cheat. Couldn't that city already accommodate their desires? This truly was a city known for its romantic encounters. Even in broad daylight, the hallways were filled with moans. Ethan returned to his room, threw his luggage into a corner, and lay on the bed, strategizing how to get evidence. Just as night fell, the sound of a door closing echoed in the corridor, and he sprang from the bed. After they left, he flipped the please sign on her door, and then returned to his room to wait for housekeeping. About half an hour later, the cleaner opened that door, and Ethan slipped in behind her. Excuse me, I forgot something, you're very busy. Ethan remained calm and composed, and the cleaner didn't suspect a thing. After installing the security cameras, he put on sunglasses and left. He couldn't spend the entire night in torment. He randomly entered a bar and saw Vivian. He hid in a corner, observing her every move. This was completely different from the woman he had slept beside for almost 3 years. She freely swayed her body in front of Marcus, utterly captivating, sometimes clinking glasses with him. In front of Ethan, she never touched a drop of alcohol. Originally, the outwardly cold Vivian was, deep down, far more boisterous than any ordinary woman. Perhaps the alcohol was taking effect, as she actually took off her coat in the crowd, leaving only a light pink camisole. Extremely revealing, Marcus wrapped his arm around her waist, kissing her neck, wine spilling on her body, drawing whistles from the crowd. The surrounding men openly displayed their greed, and Marcus didn't care, neither did Vivian. She smiled, took his hand, and headed towards the restroom. Hadn't you just been intimate? Were you hungry again so soon? Ethan's heart was bleeding. He treated her like a treasure, yet she debased herself. The feeling was like 1,000 knives slicing into his flesh, one after another, the pain seeping into his bones. Before she came out of the restroom, Ethan paid $2,000 to bring a not-so-pretty young girl along. The night view was beautiful. Even in the middle of the night, there were many people by the musical fountain. However, Ethan felt no happiness at all. The young girl seemed surprised that he had spent $2,000 just to sit there and watch the fountain. What's wrong? Are you troubled? Her young voice was pleasant, capable of healing emotional wounds. Ethan shook his head, not wanting to speak to her. The young girl persisted. You were staring at that woman in the bar earlier. What? Your wife? Had he already carved "I am here to catch my wife" cheating onto his face? Why could the girl read his mind? It's not surprising. In this city, such things are countless, sometimes unseen, but they truly exist. She even said she was a prostitute, going with whoever had money, but she wouldn't charge $2,000 for just watching the fountain. The girl's straightforwardness made Ethan feel a little embarrassed. His current actions were even less honorable than a prostitute's. Did he want to prove he loved her enough? Or, when they divorced, he had to make her leave home? The girl returned the money to Ethan. As she left, she dropped a remark that made his hair stand on end. Everything has its value. Watching a fountain is free. Yes, everything has its value. What was her affair for? Was their life together boring? Or could he not give her the material things she wanted? This question plagued Ethan all night. It wasn't until the sun showed its face that he finally felt some relief. In a city known for its romantic encounters, few people wanted to get up early. Ethan walked languidly down the street, watching the autumn leaves drift into the corners, his heart gradually withering. He couldn't figure out the question the girl had left him with. Though his income was unstable, they lived a comfortable life, with a car and a house. Moreover, he tried various ways to make her happy every day, all for that word complimentary. When he angrily prepared to confront her, the front desk told him that she and Marcus had already checked out and left. As she spoke, she threw the security camera he had hidden in the room to him, revealing a disdainful loser's expression. Unfamiliar with the area, Ethan had no choice but to go home first, waiting in torment to see when she would return. "I am back." Vivian returned a day early, but she didn't notice Ethan lying spiritlessly on the sofa. "How was the project discussion?" Ethan listened listlessly, then finally couldn't help but feel a tickle in his throat, and coughed. "What's wrong? Are you sick?" She sat beside him and placed her hand on his forehead. "You seem to have a fever." No, he had been feverish for 4 or 5 days, but he hadn't seen a doctor or taken medicine, stubbornly waiting for her to come home, or for him to die. She went to the medicine cabinet, playing the role of a virtuous wife. "There's no fever medicine at home. I'll take you to the hospital." Feverish for several days, Ethan had no strength to resist. He always smelled her, smelling male hormones that didn't belong to him, and he wanted to vomit. She was very attentive, taking 3 days off work to care for him at home. Without any sign of annoyance, Ethan looked at her face, swallowing the words "let's get a divorce" dozens of times. He couldn't bear it. 3 years of affection would just go to waste, and he was unwilling to let it happen. Life seemed to return to normal since she became a team leader. Vivian no longer came home late or left early, and she became much more affectionate towards him. Was she only doing it for the promotion? If so, Ethan thought he could accept it. After all, they would be even. After becoming a team leader, her salary doubled. She started buying clothes for him, making him look years younger, expanding his artistic sphere. She took him to various social events, including company banquets. At the banquet, Marcus, the man she had traveled with, approached him politely. He exuded a gentlemanly aura. At this moment, Ethan realized how attractive this man was to women. In his 40s, he maintained a good physique. His beard was as handsome as Robert Jr.'s. His conversation was engaging, mature, and charming. Marcus was the main focus of this banquet, having been promoted to vice. Wherever he went, he always smiled, accompanied by a curvaceous woman that was his wife. At the banquet, there were women of all shapes and sizes, but Marcus' gaze never lingered on them. He acted like an exemplary husband. Several people looked at Ethan with mocking eyes. He excused himself, claiming to feel unwell, went home early, then called Vivian to say he had a headache and was going to bed. At 3 in the morning, she gently lay on the bed, nestled into his arms, sleeping soundly. That night, she called out his name in her dream. Vivian was pregnant with boy-girl twins. The company gave her an absurdly long paid leave. Overjoyed, Ethan immersed himself in learning everything he could, hoping to provide for her. He spent his days busy with parenting classes, and hired a postpartum nurse for her, allowing her to rest assured during her pregnancy. But when he came home, he didn't see the postpartum nurse. Vivian said the nurse had an odor, so she sent her home. Ethan suggested hiring another one, but she said, "Never mind, this nurse cooks very well." He had no choice but to agree, and he thought it was my baby she was carrying. Ethan often worked at night, so he moved to the study to sleep, afraid of disturbing her rest. Still awake. At 3 a.m., she pushed open the door. Ethan was sitting in front of his computer, lost in thought. He offered her a seat and gently touched her swollen belly. "Why are you up? Is it too hot?" It was indeed muggy and hot on a rainy day. She shook her head, pointing to her belly. "These 2 things of yours are restless. Only 3 months, and they are already moving." The joy of being a first-time expectant father clouded Ethan's mind. He crouched down, staring at her slightly bulging belly, then pressed his ear against it, chuckling foolishly. She placed her hand on his head, stroking it back and forth, as if petting a dog. "Yes, I won't disturb your work. Get some rest soon." She stood up, went back to the bedroom, and locked the door from inside. The next day, the postpartum nurse arrived and looked a bit surprised when she saw Ethan. He asked the nurse what was wrong, but she didn't say anything, turning instead to the kitchen to cook. Vivian wasn't awake yet, and Ethan had nothing to do, so he went to the kitchen to watch the nurse cook, hoping to learn some techniques. The nurse, seeing him standing nearby, her eyes twinkling, seemed to want to say something, but wouldn't open her mouth. "Sister, what do you want to say?" Ethan placed his cup on the desk, looking intently into the nurse's eyes. "Is the nurse here? Honey, come help me, my back aches. I can't stand steady." At that moment, Vivian woke up and called him from the bedroom. Ethan quickly went into the bedroom. She had gotten up a bit too abruptly. Vivian fired the nurse, claiming she couldn't stand her body odor. Ethan hadn't smelled anything that morning. The nurse explained that, when she sweated while cleaning the room, she developed an odor. There was nothing he could do. He looked again, but Vivian was still unsatisfied. Finally, she found someone herself. It was a young girl. Ethan looked at her still somewhat childish expression and felt genuinely uneasy. Can she handle it? Vivian nodded, saying she felt a strong connection with her. Nothing else mattered. The doctor also said the most important thing for a pregnant woman was to maintain a good mood. The girl's name was Daisy. That's what everyone in her family called her. Daisy was indeed quite good. Not only did she cook delicious meals, but she also kept the house very tidy. However, she had a younger brother to care for at home, so she had to leave after cleaning the house and cooking. After observing for a few days, Ethan felt completely at ease and immersed himself in parenting studies. The school's program lasted 3 months, and the institution held a graduation ceremony for them, which seemed quite formal. At the graduation ceremony, Ethan was about to go on stage to receive his diploma, when Daisy called, sobbing, saying something had happened to Vivian and she had been taken to the hospital. Ethan didn't hesitate. He drove straight to the hospital without even getting his diploma. In the corridor, Daisy was in tears, profusely apologizing to him. Thanks to Vivian's colleague, who came to pick up some documents, Ethan was able to take Vivian to the hospital. 2 hours later, the doctor came out. Vivian was wheeled into the ward, still unconscious. Young man, please be careful in the future. It's a good thing she was brought in on time, otherwise, the baby might not have been saved. The doctor's words reassured Ethan, but he felt something was off. What kind of precautions? What should he be careful about? Suddenly, something clicked in his mind, so he grabbed Daisy and asked what the colleague, who came to their home, looked like. Around 30, well-dressed, speaks comfortably, quite tall, with a rather unattractive beard on his face. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. Ethan had someone investigate, and the child wasn't his. He looked at the complex expression on the doctor's face, a deep resentment festering in his heart. He couldn't imagine what it must have felt like for her to watch him work and study day and night for months. The image of her cheating reappeared in his mind, along with her on the bed during pregnancy, wagging her tail and begging for sympathy from Marcus. Ethan didn't go home for 3 days. He needed to figure out how to face this woman, who had a heart of a snake. She called him over a dozen times, but he hung up every time. What's wrong? Are you afraid of being exposed? So you're pretending to care about me. From the first day they started dating, Ethan had been a loyal boyfriend, and after marriage, a loyal husband. Little did he know, it was an endless betrayal, and in the end, even the baby in her belly was their illegitimate child. No wonder there was fetal movement at only 3 months. Ethan couldn't stand it anymore, and resolved to get revenge. He would make that despicable couple suffer the ultimate humiliation. First, he would start with Marcus' family. He returned home, and Vivian cried, asking why he hadn't come for days. Did he not want her anymore? How strange, he thought, if he wasn't there, wasn't someone else. Her belly was already quite large, making movement difficult. An idea kept nagging at Ethan. Cut open her belly. He lied casually, and she accepted it. What couldn't she accept? Her heart wasn't with him anyway. He probably could have said he slept for 3 days, and she wouldn't have questioned him. Marcus had a child in the preschool. Coincidentally, that preschool was below Ethan's home. He blended in with the parents picking up their children, and started a conversation with Marcus' stay-at-home mom wife. From his wife's mouth, Ethan learned everything about Marcus. Hey, women. Before leaving, Ethan gave Marcus' daughter a lollipop. The little girl thanked Uncle as a polite address. Seeing the mother and daughter look so happy, Ethan's heart burned with pain. Marcus already had such a happy family. Why did he have to destroy Ethan's? The desire for revenge, like a demon, gradually corroded Ethan's conscience. The next day, Ethan went to the preschool every afternoon, bringing various gifts and snacks for the daughter. Vivian gave birth to boy-girl twins. In others' eyes, Ethan suddenly became a father of both a son and a daughter. He smiled without speaking. He felt like the biggest cuckold on earth. There were security cameras at home, but she didn't know. He hadn't checked them since she became pregnant. The day after the children were born, Ethan uploaded the surveillance video. The despicable couple had actually been intimate in his home, in his own bed. In the video, Marcus frequently entered and exited the home after sent the postpartum nurse away. The two quickly undressed each other. No wonder the first nurse had looked at him so strangely. She must have known about this. No wonder Vivian was always dissatisfied with the postpartum nurses he found, and finally found Daisy. Originally, all this was just to create time for them. Every time Marcus was done, he would take a shower in Ethan's home. Trembling with rage, Ethan changed the video's date to the day Vivian had the accident. Daisy left after eating. As usual, a few minutes later, Marcus, fully dressed, pushed open Ethan's front door. He actually had the fingerprint for the door lock. Vivian, holding her large belly, smiled to welcome him, then took off her maternity dress and climbed onto the sofa. Marcus didn't care that she was pregnant. He forcefully initiated intercourse, causing her to hemorrhage badly. Then, she told Marcus to leave first, and called Daisy herself. So that's how it was. Ethan had been paying to clean up someone else's mess. Vivian was discharged from the hospital. Overjoyed, Ethan looked at her smile, his heart filled with an unspeakable hatred. Smiling like that, you can finally flirt with Marcus as much as you want, right? She insisted that he not hire a postpartum nurse. Yes, with a postpartum nurse, she wouldn't be able to be intimate with that wild man at home. Playing around with a wild man at home must be very exciting. Honey, why is the water heater broken? The first thing she did upon entering the home was to take a shower. She said she hadn't bathed for several days in the hospital and felt uncomfortable. Can you shower now? Ethan listened. His eyes narrowed. She suddenly understood, nodding and saying, "Oh, right. I really can't yet." When fixed the water heater, he also replaced all the water inside. He said he'd been very busy recently, and she gave him a thoughtful smile. "It's okay. Don't worry. I can manage." After arranging things at home, Ethan left, telling her he was going to the photography studio. He might not be back that day. She happily saw him off. The balcony of this room faced Ethan's home balcony, about 50 meters away. Yes, he had rented a place in the adjacent building. In the living room, there was a surveillance video player and a telescope, with everything arranged. Ethan began to waiting for the rabbit to enter the trap. Sure enough, Vivian didn't disappoint him. The day after her discharge, she called Marcus. The content came through the listening device, incredibly clear. Their every move was clearly captured by the security cameras. Even when the baby cried, it couldn't interrupt their passion. In the following days, everything remained the same. Marcus came to Ethan's home every afternoon at 3 p.m., walking straight in. He wasn't afraid of running into Ethan at home at all. Finally, Vivian's wound healed, and Marcus impatiently pulled her into the bedroom. Seeing them take off each other's clothes, Ethan picked up his phone and made a call. The entire city erupted. All media scenes pointed to that company with 500 employees, because on that day, all the screens in that company were filled with irresistibly explicit adult content. The main character of the content was the company's newly appointed vice, and the female lead was his capable subordinate. A moment later, rumors began to spread. In reality, a man ran out of the bathroom, his skin covered in lesions, grabbing Vivian's neck like a mad dog, incessantly screaming the same words, "You ruined me. You ruined me." And the woman Ethan had invited, sitting on the sofa, watched how her husband was getting intimate with another woman, until her husband lost his mind, strangled the woman he had just been cheating with in bed, and threw the two children, who were only a few days old, from the balcony. What she didn't know was that at the preschool, the teachers were in a panic, surrounding a convulsing girl, at a loss. By the time the ambulance arrived, the girl had stopped breathing. Ethan hung up the last call from the preschool teacher, and placed a glass of water in front of her. At the funeral, Ethan cried to Eleanor and Richard, "Vivian did something bad, but I believe she must have been pushed to a dead end. From now on, I will cherish both of you for her sake." After speaking, he cried even more sorrowfully, sobbing with a heartbreaking intensity.